Hey guys, it's Boaz Abel here, and today we're talking about perceptions, false perceptions, and just every type of perception that we have. Everything in this existence is a perception, and that's just kind of how things are. It's how you perceive the world is what you get in return, right? I got some soft music playing in the background. These are binaural beats. And for those of you guys who don't know what binaural beats are, it's like you guys should kind of like check them out. It's basically brain waves that are actually harmonics that stimulate brain waves. This one is called "Let Go" of fear, overthinking, and worries, and that's what we're not trying to do because our fear and our worries are probably going to lead us astray eventually. So perception, right? I come from a film studies background. Wanted to be an endocrinologist, but that didn't work out. Still into endocrinology, and I'm starting to realize that the endocrine system really correlates with the chakras and things like that. So, who knows? It's like I could probably get back into it and be like the best damn endocrinologist there is. But right now, that's not my mission. Right now, my mission is talking to you guys about perception. When I was in my film studies class, and it's kind of interesting that I learned this in my film studies class and not a Greek mythology class or philosophy class, but I learned about Plato's cave theory, right? For those of you guys who are into Plato, Greek mythology, or philosophy, you guys may have heard about Plato's cave theory. It comes up in a lot of discussions. It's like almost everything that you read that's about consciousness and human thought and perspective and psychology. It's like they'll often refer to Plato's cave theory, but what it is it's basically it's an anecdote about the perception of humans and the state that we're in. For example, if you're in Africa or you're in, the big city or you're in the ghetto or whatever you want to call it, your perception is kind of fashioned by the environment that you're in. And that's very much like the Plato theory. Let me tell you what the Plato theory is. From what I remember, and this is one this is probably one of the only things that I remember from college. There's been a lot of other things that pop up, but this is the one thing that stuck with me. Plato's cave theory. Basically, if you put a baby inside of a cave, right? Chained him up to the point where out there is this huge wall, right? And he's kind of chained up, and the only thing that he could see, and I know it's a little bit dismal and grim, but it's a theory. The only thing that he could see is the wall. And then in back of him is the opening of the cave, right? And there's a fire just maybe 20 feet behind the cave. And like every so often, people walk by between the fire and the cave, right? So it casts a shadow and an image on the wall in front of him, right? By the time that child, he's given food, of course, water, because you can't survive with all that. So somebody kind of like, behind him shoves him some food or water. And he, all he sees for his life, up until he's 23, 24, 25 years old, is these images coming in front of him, right? Shadows is all he sees, distorted figures, right? Cows, sheep, people, whatever. And that's what he sees on the wall for the next 20 something years of his life. And what he hears is the distorted sounds of people talking and goats, what do goats do? Bay, and horses and cows mewing or meowing or whatever. So that's all he hears. And this is the question that Plato posed to everybody, what is this person going to perceive that life is really like? Granted, he can't see himself. There's no mirrors. He can maybe see his hands, but, let's just take it that he's chained like this and he can't see his personal self, right? What he'll know in 23 years of his existence is how to speak echo, right? Because that's all he hears in the cave, distorted echoes of humans talking and animals doing animal sounds. That's all he'll hear, right? So he'll be able to communicate like that, right? And what does he see of this world? The only thing he sees of this world is shadows, right? Just going by him. on a regular basis, just walking this way and that way. And he sees those shadows talking. And when he starts to utter words, he starts to realize that he can make the same sounds as those shadows do. So he makes a connection that maybe these shadows are just like him. Even though he can't communicate with them, maybe these shadows are just like him and that he's a shadow, right? And he will perceive himself as a shadow. That's the basics and the crux of Plato's cave theory. And that theory actually changed my perception, my perception about perception, right? Because, it's like I grew up in the inner city. You had to do things a certain way, you had to dress a certain way, you had to act a certain way, live a certain way. And this was my perception about reality, is that I was in the ghetto, there was gangs around me all the time, and it's like I had to do those things because that's all I knew. And even on TV, it's like the coolest thing to watch was, Colors, Boys in the Hood, what else? Listen to NWA and all that other stuff, because that was the perception in the world around us, right? And I think it was Redman wrote a book, and he said most of us don't grasp anything outside of like 43rd Street or 43rd block or whatever block we live in. So we have to like expand our perception. We have to seek wisdom, and once you start seeking wisdom, and this is like a big thing about me, it's like actually seeking wisdom. I think there's nothing more important in life than gaining wisdom through conscious thought, through understanding, through experience, because that's why we're here. That's the only outside source that we're gaining from this universe, is gaining wisdom, right? Everything else just kind of comes with being human, you know what I'm saying? And we have to actually seek wisdom. So it's like with all this stuff that's going on now, right? What media's saying, right? Some of us perceive that, the stuff on TV that we're watching is actually our perception of what life is really is. With all the reality TV shows, when reality TV shows were really big, right? That was our perception. It's like, oh, this is how things really are, right? Back in the 80s and the 90s. And now you see people living out loud reality TVs, and they're realizing that that's not actual life. That's not actual existence, right? Because that's not true to them. Your existence and your perception is your own existence and your perception, right? So we all should be seeking our true perception. One thing that I asked the universe for, if you guys are universe type people, or the creator or God, Allah, whoever you want to call the dharma of everything, right? The logos of everything. Right? It doesn't matter the language that you speak. What matters is that it is the, right? The one and only, the one that put all this here, the one that we'll go back to, the one that connects us all, right? I asked him to show me things as they really are and not as I want them to be, right? Because when you start seeing things as you kind of want them to be, things become distorted because you don't see things truly as they are, right? Another thing that I asked for was wisdom, right? A lot of the prophets like Solomon, and then we go back to like Adam and Thoth, right? Who's may or may not be a prophet, but there was something about him. Hermes, which was associated with Thoth, and Enoch and Idris in the Arabic understanding of Prophet Enoch and Idris, right? These are all people, Solomon and all these other people, that asked for wisdom. And God favored them because they asked for wisdom. And not only did they get that wisdom, they got some other things to go with it to boot, right? They didn't have to worry about anything because they were seeking wisdom. So once you ask for truth, once you seek wisdom, you start to see and feel and live things a totally different way, right? Your perception changes. Your understanding, your consciousness changes about how this world is, right? As is above, so is below, right? You could understand the bigger of things by understanding the smaller concepts. That's one part of wisdom, is by looking at small things and understanding their reaction on everything else, right? So our perception about life has become skewed because we've had other people tell us how to think, how to feel, how to reason, how to associate, how to socialize, and all these other things. And we're seeing it today, right? And it gets worse and worse and worse. All right, look at our government right now. It's telling us that if you feel a certain way, or if you think a certain way, you want a certain thing, then you need to become a Republican, right? If you think a certain way and you feel another way, then you need to become Democrat, right? And then we have all these other things that are kind of trickle down that don't associate with them, and they're bumping heads because they don't have the proper perception about the existence that we live in. And that perception is understanding the greater, the greater, the greater of everything, right? Understanding the universe as it works in a whole and understanding our place within that universe, right? Everything that we're learning on this planet is part of our perception, right? And the more wisdom you gain, the more you understand about life, the more that you perceive, the more that you understand, the further that you could go, the more comprehension that you could have, and the more that you'll understand on how to reach that higher level, that higher consciousness that everybody's talking about. And even within that, right, there's some misperceptions about what's going on in the spiritual realm, you know? There's some misperceptions about what's going on in the spiritual realm, right? Because it's all about control. It's all about fashioning us into being sheep. Don't be a sheep. You need to be an individual. And your individual perception is what's going to carry not just you, but everybody else around you. So perception is a very powerful thing. I don't believe that this world is like the final be all. In fact, I think this world is just fun and games. It's not real. You know, nothing about this world is real, right? Especially for somebody like me, somebody who gets up in the morning and goes, damn it, it's like I could fly. It's like I wish I could fly. You know, it's like, why can't I fly? Why can't I just get up and fly to work? Why do I have to fly to work? You know, why can't I just fly to the Bahamas and chill, you know, or Fiji and chill, right? That's the way that I think. And that's the way a lot of other inventors and people like that, you know, think. It's like, you know, why can't we fly like birds? And then they create these airplanes and things. Think of what would happen if we could excel towards, instead of manipulating, right, the natural realm around us and manipulating ourselves so where we actually can change things in our bodies through thinking and conceptualizing and be able to fly. When you look at some of the quote-unquote gods back in the day, which they weren't really gods, they were superhumans, and it's like, I don't care what anybody tells me, it's like these people were not gods, they were superhumans, exalted masters, exalted beings, you know? And they were able to do some amazing things, and people looked at them like they were gods because of the wisdom that they had, right? We'll be like that too one day, I guarantee it. You know, it's like we are going to excel. We're going to change our perspective. It's like I believe in the human race and the human existence and, you know, what we were put on this planet to do. We were put on this planet to excel. We were put on this planet to be good. We were put on this planet to be of love, of light, to be close to God, to be part of the universe, to be exalted masters, right? And we'll get there one day. I'm not there yet, but one day I'd like to be. So, perception is something that you make of it, right? Perception is me thinking that this room is hot, but it's not really that hot, but because I perceive it's hot, it's like I'm sweating like a freaking cow right now. But perception is what you think the life is around you, what you understand, what you are led to believe, right? Once you get out of that, it's like it's all toasty. It's a little bit psychotic. You think you're going crazy, but trust me, you're not. You're raising your consciousness, you're raising your level, and you're opening up yourself to love. You're opening up yourself to light. You're opening up yourself to understanding, right? Because you're perceiving things differently. And when you can perceive things differently, you start to open up the door to different things, right? And if you're of light, if you're of love, if you're of goodness, then that's what's going to come to you, right? And that is the bigger picture. Seeking wisdom, love, light, compassion. All right, guys. If you guys want to read my blogs, I got a bunch of blogs out there. Go on my Instagram, all that other stuff. It's all the same handle, The Hermit Bow. I might change that, but The Hermit Bow at everywhere, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, my blog. Check it out, sign up. I'm shooting stuff out to you guys all the time now because I'm really, really, really into this, and I'm really into you guys. It's like I love you. Blessings and salutations. Until next time.